So thank you all for your time joining us. This is about an exciting new offering from Scaled Agile, and I'm very lucky to have um, product manager from Scaled Agile here with us. A little bit about Engaged Agility first, if you're not familiar with Engaged Agility. Engaged Agility is a Scaled Agile Gold partner, definitely known for training. If you go to the Scaled Agile training calendar, you'll oftentimes see Engaged Agility listed near the top, given the amazing feedback scores for the training classes. I work with Engaged Agility from a consulting perspective primarily, although I do enjoy teaching an LPM class, uh, try to do one once a month, but a little bit about Engaged Agility's offerings here. But that's not what you're here to learn about. Instead, you're here to learn about micro-credentials. Just a little bit about myself. I'm Phil Gardiner. I'm a SAFE fellow. Been at this since I saw Dean pitch SAFE in 2013. I've been both an internal change agent and an external consultant, working with, both up here in Canada, working with crown companies in Canada, enterprises and global enterprises, U.S. government agencies, state agencies, lots of industries, and just been, enjoyed this. In fact, I met Michelle, about over 7 years ago, I guess. She's been, it's been amazing to watch Scaled Agile Incorporated grow from, the 8 or so people they had when I met them to, over 200, I'm imagining by now. And, Michelle was in customer support. They've got world-class customer support. And now she's a product owner, product manager. Anything you want to add there, Michelle?
No, that's great. Yeah, I've had the pleasure of working at Scaled Agile for almost 8 years now, and had a variety of different roles, as Phil mentioned. Started in customer support, and then was able to advance up. So now I work in product management and get to understand what needs and problems customers are trying to solve, and see what solutions we might be able to provide to help them solve those. So it's been a lot of fun. It's been a good journey, and I'm excited to be here today.
Thank you. So for our agenda today, we're going to take a look at the micro-credentials, so in case you're not familiar with those. We'll take a deeper look into, 3 of them, and kind of I'll share my perspective on positioning these. We'll talk about kind of some interesting combinations there. Michelle will walk us through, who these micro-credentials are right for, who should take each of these. I'll talk a little bit about the role of the facilitator. Who the facilitator is can matter, and what you're looking for from the micro-credential experience, it factors into that. And then we'll definitely have time for questions. So with that said, let me keep going.
Perfect. All right. Well, I wanted to start off with this view to kind of give us a little bit of a high level overview, from Scaled Agile, and kind of what we're working towards building as far as support, oh, go back. Two more, one more. What we're building as far as support for people like yourselves that are SAFE professionals or interested in adopting SAFE and interested in learning more. And so we believe, and we know that you all as professionals know that there's a continuous learning journey that we all take throughout our professional careers. We don't just walk into our jobs one day, know everything we need to know for the rest of our lives, and then retire, hopefully, one day. But there is this continuous learning journey, and that continuous learning journey doesn't look the same at all times. And so depending on where you are and what your needs are, you might be pulling for different things to really solve the problems that you're facing today, or the problems that you expect to face tomorrow because you want to grow into a new role. So we're really trying to create a holistic learning journey that spans all the way from guidance to practice. So what's not on here, that if you are familiar with SAFE, is our framework. All of our framework is available online. It's articles. It's quite extensive, and it's quite meaty. It's quite dense to get through. And so you have that all the way to the left of this image in the guidance area. And then you kind of work your way through. So if you're just starting with SAFEs, just getting into a role, you might be looking at those certification courses to really understand what SAFE is, how it applies to your role, how it applies to your daily work. And then as you go through, you get more and more into, okay, now that I'm here and I understand these things, I need to actually put them into practice. So our goal is to provide tools and resources and learning opportunities to really take you along that journey, so that you can solve the problems you have today and grow to the roles and the advancement that you want for tomorrow. So today you're seeing all of kind of what we're working towards, but today we're going to focus on our SAFE micro-credential courses. So next slide. So it's right in the beginning between, right after guidance of the certification courses and kind of heading towards that practice. So it's still a lot of guidance, but there is a lot more practice in here than our certification courses if you've taken one of those. So I'm excited to kind of talk through what these are, why we've gone down this path, and why we think they're going to be really powerful. Next slide. So the first question we like to ask ourselves is, well, why? You know, as a product manager, product owner, one question I have to ask is why should I have my organization develop something? Why am I suggesting or recommending that we move in a specific way? And so we did a lot of research. We have the benefit of being able to talk to our customers quite a bit, and our customers are free with the gift of feedback. And that's been really great because as you hear more, you learn more and you start to see patterns. So some of the patterns that we have found is training, and especially role-based training, is a critical first step. Before you start doing the thing, you really need to understand, you know, what is a product owner? How does it fit into the organization? What are the responsibilities that I, assuming this role of a product owner, need to be able to take on and really own as my own? So that's that critical first step. But the question that we were hearing a lot of was, what happens after I get training? What do I do? What resources do you have? Do you have guidance? Is there a path I can take that will allow me to continue to grow and really develop these skills that you've told me I should have as a product owner or product manager, you know, whatever role in SAFE that you have? So we really wanted to address that now what question. And so I think this slide has animation on it. Yeah. So when we're thinking through that now what, we really wanted to go back and understand what were the patterns that we were hearing. And one of the biggest things that we're hearing is we need shorter forms of learning. Our certification courses here at SAFE are 2 days at minimum, up to 4 days if you're doing the implementing SAFE and becoming an SPC. That is really difficult to do over and over and over again. It might be able to happen once in a while, but to continue that learning journey, we can't have long form learnings. We really need those shorter forms of learning. We also want it to be really modular. We want to be able to pick and choose what we bring in because, again, the problems that I need to solve right now may not be the same problems that my peer needs to solve now. So being able to have these modular learning opportunities will allow me to pick and choose and shape my learning journey to fit my context and my needs. If you click the next button, the next little box that comes is role-based pathing. So one of the other thing that we heard is, like, as a role, it would be really important and really special to have a path and guidance that as I'm taking on that role, I have certain steps and certain things that I am guided to help me grow in that role. We also want deeper focus. If you've been through one of our certification courses, you know that those are very broad. They're high level. There's a lot of information in them. They tell you what the responsibilities of the role are, but they don't go deep into how do you actually do those things. So we want more deep focus and guidance and how-tos to be able to really develop those skill set. And then we really want to apply the skills. So not only do we want to learn about them, but we want to actually be able to apply them in the learning. So giving all of that, we went on a journey to define and strategize around a couple new products, one of them being micro-credential courses. So if you go to the next slide. So here's kind of the micro-credential course pitch description. They are much shorter forms of learning. So they are going to happen in 1 day or less. Um, and they kind of bring in some new things that we haven't done before, but we have seen in just industry research for learning, for especially adult learning, things that can be really, really powerful in a learning experience. So again, trying to really keep that time commitment down. A lot of the courses are going to be 4 hours or less in that live session with some potential pre-work that you need to do. So really trying to minimize the time that is being asked for, but maximize the outputs and the impacts. Some other things that happen with our micro-credential badges is you can always count that there's going to be some expert facilitation, and they are going to be hands-on practice. So this is what I think is like the chef's kiss, the real gem of our micro-credential courses, is it's not just sitting and listening and doing a knowledge transfer and hearing someone lecture at you, but it's real experiential learning where you get to potentially bring your own problems that you're facing into a room and start to understand how peers might have addressed this, ask questions of people who have been there before, and really start to be able to form that skill set and practice that, because not only are you going to ask questions, but you're going to be able to kind of work through activities and dialogue, and really make sure that skill set is being developed and ingrained in a very safe, simulated environment before you have to go out in the real world, aka your job that you do every day, and have to do these things in a more high stakes environment where there's a lot more on the line. All of our micro-credential courses come with a badge of recognition to show off this new skill set that you've earned. And there's no renewal requirement on those. So once you earn it, it's yours because you developed the skill set. It's not a skill set that you need to necessarily renew. But it is, so that badge is yours to show off. And it's available via our partner network, like Engaged Agility and the expert trainers that they come with. So next slide. So what makes these courses different? I talked about this a little bit, that hands-on application to practice that skill. The less than 1 day portion. The blended learning opportunity is something that you'll see in some of our micro-credential courses. It's not a requirement for all micro-credential courses, but a lot of them you will see a self-paced e-learning portion that should be done ahead of a live session. And the reason we're bringing those two things together is people have different learning styles. So it's nice to bring in those different modalities of learning. But B, when you can do some knowledge transfer and some real learning of just the theory and the principles and the practices on your own, you have the opportunity to take your time. There's not a time limit. Like I said, it needs to be done before the live session. So I guess that is the time limit. But you have some time to go through. You can revisit topics. You can really start to take notes. What are your questions? What do you want to bring into that live session? So it allows you to lay that foundation before you show up to a live session where you can start to really engage and use those things that you learned, put them into practice. The peer-to-peer learning is significant. Something we hear all the time is, especially from like our events like Safe Summit or any kind of certified member event that we host, the number one thing that people love about them is the ability to connect with their peers. So that peer-to-peer learning is really maximized here so that you can start to ask questions of your peers and get answers and see how people have dealt with things that you might be going through right now that they've already kind of went through and found a way through.
Michelle, yeah, we had a question. By the way, for those of you that are asking questions, some of the stuff we'll get to a little bit later in the webinar, so we will answer all the questions either live here or in the Q&A section or potentially via email afterwards. We had a question, Michelle, are these free of cost? And just to let you know, this is product that Scaled Agile creates, and so there is a cost for the license to be able to see the intellectual property that makes up the course. And additionally, because this does require a facilitator, these are leader-led, there is a cost for the course. For example, Engaged Agility offers all of these currently available micro-credentials, and they're taught by SAFE experts. I'll talk more about the SAFE experts a little bit later on in our talk, but there is a cost involved in these because these are these are professionals who are creating the product and professionals who are delivering the product. So,
Yeah.
next slide.
Yeah, let's go. Um, so like I said, there is a badge that comes with these. And sometimes people ask, well, why do I care about a badge? It's just a badge. And the great thing about these badges is they indicate something. So there's industry recognition in safe badges. There is a like I said, industry wide, people see, oh, it's safe recognized. I understand what that means. I understand that you've put some investment into that development for yourself. One of the biggest things, especially in this economy where it's a little harder right now. I don't know if you felt it, but it's a little hard for me sometimes. And so being able to upskill has shown to be really, really important. Being able to develop your skill set, advance in your role, advance in your career, and really kind of develop those skills that you can bring to the table are proving more and more valuable, especially soft skills. And so the micro-credential badge shows off that investment. So it's an easy way for you to share, hey, I've upskilled in these ways, in these very specific ways. I've taken time to invest in myself, invest in my skill set. Here's the value that I bring to the table. It also communicates your expertise in lean agile practices. So if you're moving into a new role, it's a great way to kind of prepare yourself for that new role and communicate, hey, I have an expertise here that we can take advantage of. And again, there's no renewal. So it is, once you earn it, it's yours. We're not going to ask you to come and pay for it again. It's the skill that you've developed and you should show it off because that's incredibly important. Next slide.
Okay, I guess it's my turn a little bit here. So rather than share information regarding specifically what's in each one, because the Scaled Agile Framework website has more information on each of these, I want to just kind of share my perspective. If you've seen me do talks, I tend to be more of a storyteller. I talk and I enjoy that. But the advanced facilitation, value stream mapping, right? This is really about maximizing that flow of customer value. And when I've had the honor of being able to mentor many, many change agents, both internal and external over the years, including some SPCTs. We've got one on here with us. He's off camera right now, Mike Robertson. He's on the end of his SPCT journey to become one of those 150 or so people around the globe that are verified safe experts. But anyway, with all that to say is that value stream mapping is a tremendously powerful tool. When I was introduced to SAFe with 2.5 and 3.0, there wasn't guidance around how to leverage this powerful tool in your arsenal. And over the last several years, it's kind of evolved, and there's some great guidance on this. It existed a little bit in the DevOps course. There's value stream mapping in there. There's been some guidance on Safe Studio, but when you think about these micro credentials as a practitioner, or even in a coaching or consulting role, there's knowledge of what it is and how it works, and then there's having done it. And as a mentor, I view many of these micro credentials as a way to gather the closest thing to experience if you don't have the benefit of experience. And when we mentor SPCs, in the implementing safe class, we spend a couple hours on talking about value and the flow of value, and there's additional learning. I love the fact that Michelle tapped into that now what. One of my favorite webinars I've given was with a amazing gentleman, Harry Konerman, and it was titled I'm an SPC, now what, right? And so there's a lot of stuff beyond that. And when we look at this particular micro-credential, you're basically practicing facilitation techniques. You're learning how to position and leverage the craft of value stream mapping. Now, this is different than the value stream art identification workshop, understanding your operational value streams, your development value streams, et cetera. Instead, we're looking at leveraging the tool to help you optimize flow. We know we have the 8 flow accelerators in SAFe 6.0, but think about it this way. And Imagine you're working with a big health insurance company, and it's time that they want to launch their first art, and they don't really know where it's supposed to be because they've got lots of options. And so you do this big value stream identification workshop. You've got 60 people in the room. You've got SPCs able to help in breakout rooms, and concurrently you're mapping out and going through that workshop. And you've invited in the CTO to kind of see how things are, to support the group. And what you're asking him to do is to observe what's going on. At the same time, in the breakout groups where you're exploring the flow of value, you're saying, hey, you're going to have things pop into your mind regarding where there's bottlenecks. Jot those down. There's a parking lot over here where you can put some of those potential bottlenecks. And now, you get through, you've accomplished the goals of the workshop, so you know how to organize your arts. However, you got these data points regarding, well, gosh, that data extract, in my mind, that should take 2 or 3 days. Why is it taking 3 to 4 weeks or 6 to 8 weeks, right? That identifies an area where you might want to apply value stream mapping. And so being able to identify that, because those things will pop up, those bottlenecks, they make themselves known. Here's a technique, learning the techniques to be able to quickly apply this technique and facilitate these to be able to identify and resolve some challenges with flow. And so this is a great one. What you don't have to be an SPC to take it. We had a question in chat or in the Q&A. Can anyone sign up for a micro-credential? The answer is yes. In the future, if there are ones that have requirements, I'm sure Scaled Agile will provide that. But for right now, these are all open to anybody. And and I would encourage you, you don't have to be an SPC to leverage the power of value stream mapping. The next one, conflict and collaboration. This is really about going beyond the process. I've seen hundreds, I don't know, I lost count years ago, but lots and lots of SAFe, right? And I've seen SAFe that isn't something that I would go, wow, that's awesome. And I've seen amazing, life-changing stuff where people are so joyful with work and the company's so happy that people are laughing more. I mean, it makes a difference. Lives are being saved, in the government sector and such. But all that to say that what makes it stick, what makes a SAFe implementation sustainable is when you move beyond what SAFe says, right? Scaled Agile has created a framework. The definition of framework is a basic concept structure, as in, right, of ideas. It's not a process. And sometimes we'll see SAFe implemented as a process, and you lose the magic that makes it work, which is individuals and interactions, right, over processes and tools. And so when we look at conflict and collaboration, this is something that Scrum Masters, release train engineers, SPCs, anybody who wants to improve their ability to understand and work through conflict, because you want conflict. No conflict. Has anybody ever worked in a place where there's a big elephant in the room and nobody wants conflict, so nobody solves that problem or even brings it up, right? And so this was really something that can help you learn some techniques to be able to achieve that sustainable success with the new ways of working. The third one, and this is one where, I took it myself. We have a question in chat about, how SPCs can get involved in this. I'll answer that a little bit later in the presentation. But I'm a big fan of I'm a SAFe fellow, but I'm always learning as well. There's a guy, Dr. Steve Maynard, amazing individual, big brain. He's on the framework team at Scaled Agile. And I learned a lot from him. I learned a lot about leadership, and then I learned a lot about AI. And Dr. Maynard was one of the people behind creating this responsible AI. And I know from knowing him that he did a lot of research. He took a lot of courses. I mean, he spent years becoming really known in understanding all the nuances of AI. And this particular micro-credential is something that I've been recommending to the clients that I have that are exploring lean portfolio management. I think it definitely can apply to anything, but at the portfolio level, at the strategic level, there's pressure to implement something with AI. And I've seen clients that have immediately responded and thrown something out there from an AI perspective without any thought to long-term implications, right? To the responsible use of AI and things like that. And so the responsible AI micro-credential has that e-learning component. And as she said, if you sign up for a micro-credential that has an e-learning component, you will not enjoy your experience in the facilitated portion if you do not take the time to do the e-learning. And, I took this at a government conference, and we had, 30, 40 people in the room. I was sitting at a table with people from from the Navy, from the Air Force. I think there was somebody from one of the civilian, the Fed Civ agencies. But it was, the power of this was the insights and the perceptions and perspectives of the other people that I'm collaborating with. And it was great to have other people who were struggling with some of these same questions as me in the same forum. And so these micro credentials are designed to be collaborative, right? And sometimes you'll have a smaller group of people, sometimes you have a larger group of people. We can do these, and we offer these both internally as well as publicly. But if you don't have some plan for responsible AI, what does that mean to your organization? And many organizations are struggling with, hey, we've got this speed to market. We got to get AI out there because our customers are demanding it. Also, we've got technology saying this would be cool. But then you may have compliance and other organizations saying, slow your roll there, right? And so how do you balance those opportunities for innovation and all the goodness with AI with the risks? And so part of this experience is actually crafting a pitch, understanding, who are your stakeholders? What are the expectations? How would we even create a pitch to be able to say, hey, we need to have a responsible AI policy? How would that work? So it's a like I said, I this one I've taken myself. The other two I haven't taken myself yet, but they're on my bucket list. I am somebody that personally as an individual, I look for experts in different fields. When Harry and I did that, I'm an SPC, now what? Harry's the person that when I was working in the government with a big, huge missile warning system, Harry was the person I called for advice because he's the expert on large cyber physical systems, right? Whereas, he said, don't ask me about LPM, when we were talking on the webinar. So you might find that you want to dig deeper and research who's providing the facilitation. We'll talk about more about that a little bit. But with that said, let me turn it back over to Michelle to talk about some of these target audiences.
Yeah. Yeah. So you might be asking yourself, and I think I saw a question in there, is who should take a micro-credential course? And I think the question was, I already have my SPC. What else do micro-credential courses offer me? So you heard a little bit of from Phil. Phil has been an SPC for a long time, SPCT and SAFE Fellow. As SAFE Fellow is kind of the top tier of expert that we have here in SAFE. And so sharing his experience of attending and why he chose to attend. So SAFE micro-credential courses can be taken by anyone. You don't have to be SAFE certified to take a SAFE micro-credential course. You could have all of the certifications and still get a lot of value out of a micro-credential course. It just really depends on your need. So kind of going back to the very beginning when I was talking about our certification courses and what they offer. So if you're already certified, you have a really, really solid, amazing foundation of what SAFE is, what the principles of SAFE are, how to actually practice SAFE in general. You have ideas about what your role is, but you don't necessarily, coming out of that class right away, don't have the skill set to the next day facilitate a value stream mapping workshop. That's an extra skill set that says, hey, you as an SPC, you're definitely at the level to be able to run this, but there's nuance here that you might want to invest in to really make sure that you're in the best position to be able to do this, and you have the tools and resources and knowledge and confidence to do this. So kind of just thinking through it. Yeah, Phil.
And so this, assuming that we can't, that you can't see all of the questions, I just want to throw this one out there because it does reply, I think, for this slide. We have a question. If we're already SPC certified,
Yeah.
what would be the difference in these credentials?
Yeah. So it's the going deep. So you took implementing safe, you got certified. Amazing. That's not easy to do. If you haven't already celebrated that, you should celebrate that because that's a big achievement. Absolutely 100%. You know more about safe than a lot of people. And you have the beginning of tools and resources and skills to be able to go and implement safe, to really coach and train others in safe. But I know when I got my SPC certification, I didn't walk out of that class feeling like I could run a value stream mapping workshop. In fact, 8 years later, I still don't feel like I have the skill set and the knowledge to be able to confidently run a value stream mapping workshop.
But that's okay. You
Yeah,
don't, SBC doesn't have to be a master of everything.
no,
Even as
exactly.
a safe fellow, I'm not. I mean,
Yeah. And so I think it's, you know, where do you want to dive deep? Where do you really want to build up your skill set and your expertise? And where might you need some additional support to do that? So there's a lot of options. There's a lot of ways to build up a skill set. You can just go out and do the thing and keep doing it until you figure it out. Um, I like that peer-to-peer learning. So having that kind of safe simulated environment allows me to ask what I feel are dumb questions and not feel like I'm gonna get in trouble because I don't know the answer to that already. Um, so there's a lot of reasons why you might want to take a micro credential course. It's going to be unique and individual to each person. Um, SPCs are in an interesting place because you're also able to validate and facilitate these micro credential courses. So that's just kind of one thing that I would say, hey, if you're not experienced, if you're not confident in doing this thing, maybe take the micro credential first as a learner before you start to facilitate it for others, just to make sure that you can speak from a place of authority and a place of expertise in that specific deep dive of a topic.
and I want to just chime in there, right? So I mentioned earlier, I try and teach an LPM class publicly every month, and I get SPCs in my class. As an SPC, you can go through a 2 or 3 hour enablement learning path to be able to teach the lean portfolio management class. But I get a lot of SPCs who are like, I want to take the class before I teach the class. And so, I've never, those are the SPCs that I hear amazing things what they've done with their journey, right? Because they're continuously learning. There's a hunger to continuously grow and improve. And you instill that kind of the sense of relentless improvement that you show in yourself, that comes across in the people you work with and the people you train. All right, let me keep going here.
Yeah. So, not every micro credential course is going to be applicable or desirable for every single person. They are deep dives. So, myself as a product manager, I might not see as much value in conflict and collaboration as I might in responsible AI. So we do have some recommended or target audiences for each of these. Doesn't mean these are the only people that can attend or the only people that will get value out of them. This is just who, when we were creating it, the people we had in mind, that would be the main audience. So again, you're seeing listed here SPCs. Conflict and collaboration. Coaching through conflict is hard. I admire people that have that skill set. I don't like conflict, so I avoid it, which is not healthy. So instead of avoiding it, this micro credential, as Phil said, really helps you dive in and find the strategies and the framework that's going to help you work through that with your team, with your art, with your organization. So SPCs, RTEs, Scrum Masters, team coaches, really those people in that facilitation role are going, and that coach role are really going to get some experience and value out of this. Product owners, they're an integral part of the team. So being able to work through conflict in a healthy way. So maybe I should take this one as a former product owner. Again,
Michelle, I'll say this, right? You have 200 some odd people at Scaled Agile, right? I came from AT&T,
yeah.
and sometimes these larger organizations, when product owners and product managers are dealing with a variety of stakeholders, right? I'm working with, up here in Toronto, working with a company this week, and they've got global stakeholders,
Mhm.
right? And so sometimes we'll see a company move towards, we've had success, we've got 5 regions across the globe, and now we want to have them all work together. So you've got cultural differences and people who are used to having the say in things. And now all of a sudden we have to collaborate. And so I personally could see the value, not necessarily if you're in a small, the culture at Scaled Agile has a lot of collaboration and transparency. That can't be said for every organization out there. And transparency and collaboration are leading indicators of your long-term success with any new way of working. But anyway,
Yeah.
I'll keep going.
Perfect. So value stream mapping. Again, we're looking at that coach facilitator audience. The title is advanced facilitator. So we're looking at that facilitator persona as kind of the main target audience. So again, we're having SPCs, agile coaches, RTEs, potentially even product owners might come into here, or really anyone. Maybe you're a LACE leader and you don't have one of those safe roles, but you still want to be able to facilitate the value stream mapping workshop. That's who we would suggest attend this one. And then for responsible AI, this one is a lot of a more broad target audience. If you go to the next slide.
Well, real quick, we've got a question on this one.
Sure.
So I'm certified in Leading Safe 6.0. However, I've not done the SPC certification, but I do have practical experience. Can I take the value stream mapping micro-credential and run a value stream management workshop?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So there's no requirement to be an SPC to take this or to run a value stream mapping workshop, frankly. And there's no requirement to be SAFE certified, period. So if you have others in your organization that aren't SAFE certified, but you want to pair with, maybe they have lean experience, and you want to bring them in, this is a great opportunity to kind of get onto the same page, start speaking the same language, making sure you're approaching this workshop, if you're co-facilitating it, with the same tools in your pockets, so that you can really create that great collaboration space. So it's a great one. A lot of these topics aren't unique to SAFE. Conflict and collaboration is not unique to SAFE. Value stream mapping is not unique to SAFE. So there's a lot of value in these, even outside of our SAFE community and people who have been certified in SAFE.
And just to clarify, I'm sorry, I may interrupt you. Please
Go
continue.
for it. No,
Yeah.
you're
So sometimes there's confusion regarding the value stream and art identification workshop and value stream mapping. And just to kind of chime in real quick, value stream and art identification workshop is something that I would encourage someone to take implementing SAFE before they went off to the races with that one. But value stream mapping is really about examining a flow, mapping out a flow, a set of steps, from trigger to value, and looking for bottlenecks, looking for impediments to flow, and finding ways to improve that. And so that's a generalized skill set that you absolutely don't have to be an SPC to have. So
yeah, 100%. Okay, and then achieving responsible AI. This one's real broad. So it's really anyone that's responsible for creating policies on how AI is going to be used within an organization. Phil had mentioned it. There's a big push to start to incorporate AI in a lot of our daily work. And going a little slow at first to really understand what is responsible AI and how to use AI responsibly. So you protect yourselves, so you protect your company's data. So you just make sure that you're using it in the way that was intended. Is going to be really, really important. So this course is much broader of an audience, but we think it has some really broad things that can and should be applied. So we left that audience pretty broad and not role specific. This could be really anyone within an organization that's responsible.
from my experience in the group that I was working with, when I went through this learning experience myself, a lot of the people were ones that were in influencing roles, where either they were in a technology leadership role, a business leadership role, or supporting one of those people. And they're looking at, and there was a lot of internal change agents as well, but it was really this idea of, how can I advocate for us to come up with something to not think about this, right? And if you're working at a company and AI is inevitable for you, which I think from many companies, especially those building software, it will be, you know, is there a way to get in front of it? And it gives you a lot of insights, and you practice techniques to be able to articulate the need to, have some sort of framework or policies around, responsible use of AI.
And then I have a surprise. Phil didn't go in depth in this one, but it's not available yet, and that's why. So we have a fourth micro-credential that we're just on the cusp of releasing. We're planning a release for October 1st, which is really exciting. It's not this coming Tuesday, but the Tuesday after. And it's really focused at that safe for government vertical. So if you are in the government space, if you're consulting in the government space, or you're actually a government employee, this micro-credential is really aimed for you. And so, yeah, it is exciting. We're excited about it. So this one, what we have found is lean agile practices can make such a huge difference in the government space. Um, and so what is unique to government is there are policies and regulations on roles and titles and specific things that you have to do within a government or highly regulated space that are not seen as much or as significantly in kind of the more private enterprise space. And so this is the starting point to offer some guidance and some practical application for those in the government or highly regulated environment where you're really trying to adopt safe, but the language is so different. You have this language that you've been using for so long. You have titles that are regulated. And then safe comes in with these new roles. So you have release train engineer. Can probably guarantee you that release train engineer is not in the regulation of titles available. It might be, it might have made it there, but that's a specific safe role. So how do you translate that role and the responsibilities of that role to the titles that are regulated in your context? So it's really starting to kind of bridge that gap in the language of saying, here's what safe says, here's what safe defines as roles. How do we map that to the roles that already exist? And the people that are fulfilling that role, how do we help them make that transition to start to adopt safe ways of working? So we're excited for that one.
Yeah,
And
no,
like,
the Safe Summit's coming up. The Safe Summit's coming up next month. I always look forward to the Safe Summits because, big announcements happen and things like that. So, this whole idea of micro-credentials is great because it gives that, as you mentioned, that smaller chunks of learning, and then they're oftentimes more actionable. So,
yeah,
I know we've got plenty of time for questions. I've got one more in the hopper that we'll address here in just a couple minutes, but um,
yeah. So, we've talked about, what are micro-credentials, why we're moving in this direction, what are the specific, what's the deep dive into the three that we've already released, plus the one that's coming up, who should attend them. But you may be asking, well, why? Why should I give up my money and my time to do this? What benefit is it going to yield for me? And we've talked a little bit through that, but I just wanted to highlight these things again. Of when we've built these things, when we've tested them, we really have focused on bringing in real world problems and real world examples into the materials we provide, but then we also encourage people to come to the table with real world problems to be able to work through them. So while you're in a simulated environment, you're not working through a simulation. You are working through legitimate things that happen every single day. You're getting that hands-on practice of safe that is really difficult to find. Sometimes, I've felt it before. I was like, I'm just on an island trying to figure this out and practice something and see what works. These really allow you that kind of space with that expert to do that hands-on practice. There's the immediate applicability. I walk away from one of these and I can immediately go and apply those skills to my job. So the value factor is really high. I don't have to figure it out. Again, upskilling, building your skill set, gaining those in-demand skills that employers are looking for. If I want to advance my role, advance my career, it's a really great option. But not only for individuals are there benefits, there's benefits for the organization. So if you happen to be a decision maker within your organization, and help people find professional development opportunities and encourage them into professional development opportunities, there's some real benefits to organizations for having people go through micro-credential courses. So we
Yeah.
know, yeah.
So I was just saying, it's like I was thinking about value stream mapping specifically, right? I remember I worked with this financial investment firm several years ago, and I mentored one guy in value stream mapping techniques. And by himself, he helped an organization go from uh, 3 to 6 months to 2 to 5 days for delivery of this one type of thing. And I imagine, looking back, it's like, what if the organization had me specifically, you know, mentor 10 or 15 people in that skill set? So I haven't done it myself yet, but I look very forward to being able to help to deliver a private experience for a company or an agency or a government program, because these are skills that you can learn together. And the nice thing about a lot of the things under the SAFE umbrella is that they have the common terminology and the common practices and the common frameworks. And so it connects people and allows them to learn from each other, even after the micro-credential experience.
Yeah. Yeah. So all of
Well,
those things are
let me
terrific.
just jump in this last piece, and this is the last part of our talk here. So some people are aware of this. There's a gentleman named Adam Mattis, a SAFE fellow, who him and some others before him really kind of lead this SAFE Experts program at Scaled Agile. And this is a journey. This is a journey that starts by becoming an SPC, right? And I said that webinar I did with Harry ended up turning into a monthly webinar for over a year. I may end up bringing that back. I enjoyed it so much. I interviewed all these different SPCs that had taken the next steps in so many different and amazing directions with great results. But these micro-credentials, the current offerings require a SAFE expert. The entry into that world of expertise with SAFE is the SAFE practice consultants. There's individuals that kind of work towards, not everybody, but some people work towards this goal of being an SPCT. And so there's the co-trainers, and then there's SAFE practice consultant trainer candidates. So to become a SAFE practice consultant, trainer, or transformation, the T stands for multiple things: transformation, training, etc. They need to go to be accepted into a multi-year program led by Scaled Agile to really validate. And that's why we call them the verified SAFE experts. And so, just being aware of this, and depending on your goals for taking a specific micro-credential or any class out there, you might consider, where is the SPC on their journey? And as Michelle mentioned before, you can be an expert in value stream mapping without being an SPC. You can be an expert in lean portfolio management without being an SPCT or a SAFE fellow. We all have our skills and our journeys. And so don't limit people to say, oh, I only want a SAFE fellow. But at the same time, if you do find a SAFE fellow or an SPCT, you know that there's a validated part there. What we bring to the table, the farther you go from the right to the left, from the left to the right on here, is stories, experiences. You've seen, you're seeing stuff. By the time you get over this other, you kind of seen most of the stuff that's out there, right? And so, just understand that I would personally encourage you to check in with your instructor, because these are facilitated experiences, and the insights and the practical experience of the person facilitating may impact the learning experience that you have. Now, that's my personal opinion, but just being out there. All right. So we're in our Q&A section now. I'm actually before actually want to say one thing. If you are interested in taking a micro-credential, Engage Agility has done something that's pretty interesting, bundling a SAFE class with a micro-credential. And there's a discount there where you're getting the micro-credential for a steep discount from taking it by itself. And there's some really interesting combinations. For me, I bundle responsible AI with my LPM class. right? Because it's like right there, and here's a couple actions you can take coming out of the LPM class. We've bundled release train engineer with conflict and collaboration. We've bundled SPC with conflict and collaboration. We've bundled SPC with value stream mapping. And the idea here is that go beyond the classroom and start getting into some of that practical knowledge. And so engageagility.com/safe-classes. And from there, you can get to everything. Mike will probably share in chat some more targeted links that are specific, but feel free to reach out. You've got my, Phil@engageagility.com if you've got questions for me. And we can go from there. With that said, let me turn back to the questions that we have in chat right now. So the first one is, how can SPCs enable micro-credentials? I can answer that one because I'm an SPC. If you become an SPCT, you're still an SPC. A fellow, you're still an SPC. Basically, enabling for micro-credentials is the same requirements as enabling to teach a course. And personally, as somebody who's mentored many SPCs, I would highly encourage you to go ahead and experience the micro-credential if it's an area that you haven't had a lot of experience in yourself. When you go to facilitate it, your participants will deeply appreciate it if you're better connected to the materials, but there is an enablement path for any SPC. Where can I find links to webinars on the SPC interviews? YouTube. You can go to YouTube and you can search for SPC Journey, and you'll find them there. Mike, maybe he could throw that into chat, but like I said, and maybe stay tuned with Engaged Agility. I've been kicking around the idea of bringing back some sort of webinar series, because it's awesome to hear from SPCs out there in the field and what they've done from it. I'm an SPC and I've led a transformation. I'm an SPC, and we've had just amazing individuals from around the globe that we interview on there, and including some of the Scaled Agile Safe fellows like Rebecca Davis and others. I don't have any other questions in our Q&A right now. And if you can't get to the Q&A for some reason, feel free to throw it in the chat. Mike, I don't know if we have the ability. Mike, come on video here. I mentioned Mike earlier. Mike is that guy that's always running in the background. I will tell you that if you're an RTE that wants to sign up for a conflict and collaboration micro-credential, I would actually say, hey, Phil can do it, and so can Mike. Mike's not a safe fellow, but he started his journey as a release train engineer for a joint Air Force Army government program, one of the top 5 implementations I've seen in my career, which is saying a lot because it was early in the government days. And Mike's mastery of that was very helpful. And so he's somebody that's got extensive experience mentoring and kind of cultivating the skills and expertise of RTEs. And so his class is going to have some great stories in it as he helps facilitate with those insights. Whereas I've got some, but not as much as Mike. So if you have questions for any of us, please let us know. This webinar, I believe the plan is to take the recording and place it up on Engaged Agility's website. Mike, anything you want to add? Otherwise, I'll close this out.
No, thanks, Phil and Michelle. You guys did an awesome job. A lot of good information to share with everyone. So I appreciate it. I'm sure the audience does as well.
Well, Michelle, it was great being able to do a webinar with you. I over the years, I love collaborating with you, as a partner, right? So working for a partner, being an SPCT, I'm a customer of Michelle's as well. And this webinar came about from her asking for my feedback on some things. And, so if you are in a situation where you're a safe enterprise subscriber, your company or your organization is, they listen to their voice of the customer. If you're not, run into Michelle at the Safe Summit. I'm sure she'll take a couple seconds. I'm hoping she would to hear your perspectives. She's always seeking more information, and the sign of a great product manager.
Yeah.
Well,
more than a couple seconds. So
Yeah, if you're talking to me, but well, thank you all. Appreciate it. Michelle, thank you so much. Mike,
Yeah.
thanks for being the background power behind this webinar. So, all right.
Awesome. Thank you. Have a great day, everyone.